Inmendham has also apparently acted on these views. In the next clip, Old Fan and another disciple of Inmendham both confirm that Inmendham killed a completely healthy cat, intentionally. Let's listen.
So I noticed one of the questions you posted was why do people get concerned about cats, or why do people bring up cats? And I think this goes back to a situation where Gary mentioned that he had put down and euthanized some healthy cats. And this obviously caused furore and a controversy amongst people. And it is a tricky question.
Inmendham euthanized a cat, and it's been turned into, he initiated World War III or something. I don't know.
Okay, so he euthanized a healthy cat, and now people are saying Efilism want to kill cats. Is that the gist of it?
Yes.
No.
These types of views are spreading. They are not limited to Inmendham's channel, nor are they limited to Antinatalist International or the Exploring Antinatalism podcast with Old Fan and Mark Maharaj. Efilist communities have been popping up on Discord, Facebook and elsewhere for years, with no slowing down in their growth. People are becoming convinced of Efilism and are having serious discussions about acting on its teachings. One example is the Efilists United Facebook page. The author of the page has been making memes and sayings based on Efilism which explicitly justify murdering animals and humans. Here are some examples.
Humans are so stupid that they feel proud of soldiers killing each other in the name of patriotism. Expecting them to voluntarily stop procreating and go extinct is the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
While rescuing a fox from a trap, the fox will attack the rescuer because it is not capable of understanding that it is being rescued. Here consent is not taken into account. Same way humans don't have the knowledge about suffering cycle, so their consent is not violated if their existence is stopped.
While rescuing a dog, the dog is not intellectually capable of understanding that it is being rescued and might try to bite the rescuer. Consent is based on intellectual capability, so the dog's consent is ignored. Similarly, all sentient beings who are not Efilists are not intellectually capable of understanding that nothingness is better than life. The consent of sentient beings should be ignored.
Old Fan herself is very much aware of all of this. In her interview with Inmendham, she confesses that she is not only knowledgeable of calls to violence on Facebook groups, but also that she has had to personally dissuade people from committing violence. Let's listen to what she had to say.
I use the red button thought experiment. I have for years. I certainly didn't erase it from the Efilist movie. I think it's important. And I do think it has all this value. I will say, that I do sadly think that there are a lot of people, like say on some of these Facebook groups, that are abusing it and are acting very threatening. And I am afraid that there are going to be people that take an antinatalist, Efilist approach that are crazy and that are going to perpetuate, violence against humans and animals. I mean, I have had to talk people down from just going out and killing, random people or hunting animals in some, disgusting, violent manner. And so, I mean, I am worried about it, and I'm curious if you're worried about it too, because I want antinatalism and Efilism to do the good in the world that I know that it can, and I don't want these kinds of people to destroy the chances that it has.
Now let's listen to what Inmendham had to say in response.
Well, I won't be a hypocrite, so I'll say if I heard about a serial killer who was killing billionaires, I would be, I'd have to be a preposterous liar to say, oh, what an awful thing that is. He's violating their rights, blah, blah, blah. Oh, fuck that shit. Because they deserve it, okay? There's no other way I can say it. You can't get $1 billion without being a son of a bitch. There's no way you can collect that much money without being the greediest, stinkingest, lousiest human piece of scum there could possibly be. To hoard all those resources for your silly, trivial pleasures, and your stupid yachts and all this other crap you're wasting this money on when it could be going to some decent purpose, saving people from ruin all over the place, and you're wasting it on this fucking trivial crap. Yeah, fuck those people. They couldn't be killed hard or bad or brutal enough to satisfy me, frankly. Okay, so yes, there is a principle. Do no harm. But I'm just saying, when you're talking about Mangala, okay, yeah, who cares? All right, because he's perfectly capable of understanding what he's doing is horrible and awful. He didn't give a shit about the pain he caused, so why should anybody give a shit about his suffering? I mean, come on. It's just silly for me to sit there and empathize because, oh, somebody shitty is going to get shit. Well, God, good. Let them get shit. I'm all for people getting what they deserve, okay? I'll say it plainly. And there's things on this planet right now that deserve it, okay? And I'm just saying that even if I was to say there was some random virus out there that was going to kill people, well, guess what? The odds of it killing a good person are pretty thin. Frankly, from my perspective, most people suck. So it's going to kill a lot of shitheads before it ever gets to anybody worth a damn. But no, I would never encourage anybody to do these trivial little, if you're not going to win the war, don't bother shooting soldiers, okay? So unless it's vital to winning the war, don't shoot any soldiers. Okay, so there's no victim. You shouldn't be making victims that are superfluous. Okay, you shouldn't be killing the soldier's wife or his kids. You know, so of course, there's people who think crazy thoughts. I can't fix that, but I'm not going to. I'm just not going to be a hypocrite and say. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, oh, I think there's a good reason to feel bad that shitty people died today. No, there's no reason to feel bad about that.
It's not about feeling bad. I just don't want people ruining the philosophy by taking on actions that are not going to fix any real problems.
You can tell the kind of game Inmendum is playing here. On one hand, he says that you shouldn't kill anyone unless you're going to win the war. On the other hand, he says most people deserve to die. So even if you murdered indiscriminately, the chances of you murdering someone undeserving would be slim. This is two different messages for two different audiences. It is a typical tactic of authoritarians. He knows he cannot advocate violence openly on YouTube without getting his channel striked, so he disavows it. And yet his logic and his other statements give the clear impression that he is in favor of it and that he does not care if people are murdered in the name of Efilism. In his eyes, such people probably deserved it anyway. Speaking of tactics, Old Fan openly admits that her goal is to Efilize antinatalism. Her clear, stated aim is for antinatalism to quote-unquote grow up into Efilism. Her career in antinatalism should therefore be regarded through this perspective. She is not promoting antinatalism itself. She is not trying to push forward antinatalism as it is understood by such writers as David Benatar, Jim Crawford, Sarah Perry, Thomas Ligotti and others. Instead, she is trying to inject Efilism into antinatalism. Let's listen.
This philosophy is the philosophy all grown up, is the philosophy making the full argument as opposed to part of the argument. And that's kind of been one of my many goals in all of this, is to Efilize it from within, in not so many words. I do think that it's more and more and more antinatalism is growing up to be Efilism. It's growing up to what it always was supposed to be. My entire reason for wanting to build the big tent of antinatalism is to make Efilism more heard, because that has been my entire goal. I'm sorry. I know most of you disagree with that, but that is my reason for doing everything that I do. Projects like the podcast and everything, I want to talk to other antinatalists or like-minded people because I want to insert more of this idea into the conversation. And that's kind of been my entire goal.
However, despite wearing an Antinatalist International t-shirt and appearing in their official propaganda, Inmendum himself disavows the term antinatalism. Again, let's listen.
I have to make some sort of declaration, make it clear that I'm not an antinatalist. I'm an Efilist, or if you want to say a life extinctionalist. But I just won't appreciate it if somebody calls me an antinatalist, because I'm not an antinatalist.
Antinatalism is kind of a pussy, shitty statement, okay? It's not a very cool word to be using. And I don't mean, it's just about style. It's also about what it's saying. It's not saying anything. You can have your little antinatalism. Go ahead and play with it all you want. I don't want to have anything to do with it, frankly.
So where do we go from here? For over a decade, antinatalism's online space has been routinely associated with Efilism. Old Fan has tirelessly promoted Efilism alongside antinatalism for years and risen to be one of its most public voices. Antinatalism International appears to be mostly composed of self-described Efilists at this present time. Inmendham's videos have hundreds of comments from admirers proclaiming him a handsome genius and a revolutionary thinker. Many of these people are young, isolated and emotionally unstable. And it is a sad fact of modern antinatalist history that the pushback against Efilism has been very meager thus far, as many who have had misgivings about Efilism have nonetheless remained silent. You can guess why that is. The question is how long this will continue. This video has only scratched the surface regarding the problems with Inmendham and Old Fan's promotion of him. Those who are interested can research and find out the rest. Luckily there are YouTubers, documents and websites which detail the information gone over in this video, as well as other problems. There has also been a recent upsurge in philosophical critiques against Efilism on YouTube and elsewhere. It's a start, but more will need to be done. If you are an antinatalist and don't want to see Efilism perverting antinatalism any more than it already has, then speak up. The more voices we have, the more likely we are to succeed. The message of antinatalism should have never been tied to Efilism and, going forward, antinatalists should make this fact public to the extent that they can. Much damage has already been done, but if antinatalists are more vocal in their opposition to Efilism, perhaps it can be salvaged. But if antinatalism is not disassociated from Efilism, then it will eventually become associated with the infliction of suffering upon humans and animals rather than prevention. Now, out of charity, we will give Inmendham the final word.
God, I just want to whack all these fuckers. And they talk like they're wonderful human beings. You don't want to kill for contempt alone. You know, it's just so much more than that. Fuck you and your individual autonomy shit. So what's the point in talking to people that fucking corrupt? Will they be persuaded by logic? No, I think they're only going to be persuaded by a Mack truck going about 70 miles an hour. I don't advocate violence. Find where I did such a thing. Go ahead. Except as, what else are you supposed to do?
And frankly, if I could run him over myself accidentally, I wouldn't mind the pleasure of it. I don't have any empathy or concern for their welfare whatsoever. I hope he ends up with a telephone pole rammed right the fuck up his ass, because that's what he deserves. He deserves to be raped for eternity. I'll live by what I fucking say. Thank you. Good night.